Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Tonight, I have a story for you that comes from a viewer named Mark, who used to work the graveyard shift at a remote, 24-hour diner off a lonely stretch of highway. He says this experience is the reason he never worked a night shift again. Let's get into it. Mark started the job in his early 20s, happy to have any work he could find. The diner was one of those classic, silver Airstream-looking places, a little relic from a bygone era. It was usually dead quiet from about 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., with only the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional rumble of a passing truck to break the silence. His duties were simple: keep the coffee hot, wipe down counters, and serve any rare wanderer who happened to stop by. For the first few weeks, it was exactly as boring as it sounds. Mark would read books, listen to podcasts, and count the minutes until the morning crew arrived. But then, one Tuesday night, things started to get strange. It began subtly. At around 3 a.m., the old-fashioned bell above the door chimed, signaling a customer. Mark looked up from his book, but the doorway was empty. He figured it was just the wind, even though it was a still, clear night. He shrugged it off and went back to reading. A few minutes later, the bell chimed again. This time, he stood up and walked to the door, peering out into the dark, empty parking lot. Nothing. Not a car, not a person. Just the faint glow of the diner's neon sign on the asphalt. A little unnerved, he locked the door. Customers could knock. Back behind the counter, he tried to focus, but the silence felt heavier now, more watchful. That's when he heard a tapping sound. It wasn't coming from the door or the windows. It was coming from the kitchen. Tap, tap, tap. It was a slow, deliberate rhythm. Mark grabbed a heavy mag light from under the counter, his heart starting to pound. He was supposed to be the only person in the entire building. He cautiously pushed open the swinging doors to the kitchen. The stainless steel surfaces gleamed under the fluorescent lights. Everything was still. He called out, "Hello, is anyone back here?" Only his own voice echoed back. He checked the walk-in freezer, the dry storage, the small office in the back, all empty, all locked, as he turned to leave the kitchen. The tapping started again, this time louder, faster, coming from right behind him. He spun around, shining the flashlight into every corner. Nothing. The sound stopped the instant he turned. Now genuinely scared, Mark retreated to the main dining area, keeping his back to the wall. He decided he was just overtired, his mind playing tricks on him. He busied himself by cleaning the already spotless coffee machine. As he worked, he caught a reflection in the polished chrome. A figure. It was standing in the darkest corner of the diner, a tall, slender silhouette, impossibly still. His blood ran cold. He froze, not daring to turn around, just watching the reflection. The figure didn't move. It was just there. He could feel its gaze on him, a heavy, oppressive weight. He slowly, very slowly, turned his head. The corner was empty. There was nothing there but a coat rack and a shadow. He was shaking now. This wasn't just his imagination. He fumbled for his phone to call his manager, but the landline on the counter started to ring, piercing the silence. He stared at it. The caller ID was blank. He never answered the landline. It was for the manager. But it kept ringing, shrill and insistent. On the 10th ring, he cautiously picked it up. Double quotes, "Hello. Nell's Diner," he said, his voice trembling. The line was silent for a moment, and then a voice whispered, "I see you." It was a dry, raspy whisper, like leaves skittering across pavement. Before Mark could respond, the voice spoke again, "Let me in." Mark slammed the phone down. He looked toward the front door, the one he had locked. Standing just outside the glass, his face pressed against it, was a man. But his face, it was wrong. His eyes were too wide, his grin stretched impossibly far across his gaunt features. It wasn't a friendly smile, it was a predator's grin. He wasn't knocking. He was just standing there, smiling, his breath fogging the glass. Mark scrambled backward, tripping over a stool and crashing to the floor. He crab walked away, never taking his eyes off the man at the door. The man simply watched him, his smile unwavering. Then, he slowly raised a hand and tapped on the glass. Tap, tap, tap. The same rhythm from the kitchen. Panic took over. Mark scrambled to his feet and bolted into the back office, slamming and locking the door behind him. He huddled in the corner, his phone in his trembling hands, and dialed 911. As he was trying to explain the situation to the dispatcher, he heard a new sound from the dining area. The bell, the front door bell chimed, loud and clear, even though the door was locked. Then, he heard footsteps, slow, shuffling footsteps, walking across the checkered linoleum floor. They were inside. The footsteps stopped right outside the office door. The doorknob began to jiggle, then rattle violently. A deafening bang echoed through the office as something slammed against the door. Then another. And another. It was a relentless, powerful assault. Mark was crying now, whispering his location to the dispatcher, praying they would arrive in time. The banging stopped. A horrifying, suffocating silence fell over the diner again. Mark held his breath, listening. A faint scratching sound started at the bottom of the door. Then, a dry, raspy whisper slipped through the crack. Almost in. Suddenly, the wail of sirens cut through the night, growing closer and closer. The scratching stopped. The presence, whatever it was gone when the police arrived. They found Mark in the office, pale and shaking. They searched the entire building and the surrounding area. They found nothing. The front door was still locked from the inside. There were no signs of forced entry. The only thing out of place was a single, greasy handprint on the outside of the front door's glass, right where the man's face had been. Mark quit the next morning and never looked back. He says he still has nightmares about that impossibly wide smile and the tapping on the glass. He believes that some things are drawn to lonely places in the dead of night, and that he was unlucky enough to be there to greet one. Thanks for listening to Mark's chilling story. Sometimes, the most terrifying monsters are the ones we can't explain. If you have a story you'd like to share, feel free to send it to us. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more scary stories, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an update. Stay safe out there, and see you in the next video.